hot without talking about the hottest one of them all, talking about hot guy. That's a deep cut if everyone knows the hot guy joke, but we're talking about Peyton Pritchard. What does he have? 27 tonight, Sherrod? What did he have off?
Yeah, I think he had 27.
27 and
double.
10. Double life for Mr. Sixth Man of the Year, or if you're
one
Noah,
turnover.
Mr.
One turnover.
MVP.
Exactly.
One turnover. No cheap turnovers that, I think it was a game or two ago he got caught with a turnover that should have been a team turnover. But what stands out to you off the top, Sherrod, in this one?
This was one of those games where you really didn't need to have all hands on deck, but they decided to show up anyway. As you mentioned, Luke Cornett early on had it going on. I think had 8 points in the first quarter. The first 5 points the Celtics scored by Porzingis.
Yeah.
Jaylen Brown was kind of getting his here and there. And it was just a collective team effort when they really they didn't have to play their A, B, or frankly C game to get this win. And Detroit, I think Detroit is going to be a competitive team at some point, but they're just too young right now. And the Celtics did what you're supposed to do when you see a young pup out there. They're trying to be scrappy and trying to find ways to compete. You have to remind them that you're the big dog, and it's time for the big dog to eat. And they absolutely feasted on that Detroit Pistons defense. Whether it was Derek White knocking down threes, or Drew Holiday getting buckets, or Porzingis catching lobs from Jaylen, or the Celtics got whatever they wanted in this game. And really, it's hard to pinpoint one or two guys that stood out significantly more than others, but certainly Peyton Pritchard was a guy who jumped off the pages a little bit. And, with Peyton, we're getting to the point where him scoring 20 points is like, it's kind of what he does now.
Didn't Jaylen Brown call this in the offseason? Didn't Jaylen Brown literally said, there's going to be nights like we're going to let Peyton run the show against like the Pistons? Like I'm 99.9% sure he said it was against the Pistons.
Yeah, because
this is a called shot. This is an attack.
Yeah, because Tatum's had something similar, except he was talking about Tuesdays in Charlotte or something like that.
Okay, yeah.
But they had different teams. But yeah, and this is the kind of game where you can see Peyton actually having a good game, really good game, and among the many good games that he's had of late for the Celtics. They just handle their business, man. I mean, this was win number 20 on the season. You got a chance to see a lot of guys out there. Jordan Walsh got some run. Peterson got some run. It was a really good night to empty the cupboard. Yes, the G League God, Davison.
We got Joe. We're gonna go to Joe. Joe is
here. We go. Matchup and who's on who and how we can get to our spacing, but their basketball IQ and their skill allows them to play, and we can take advantage of that versatility.
And Kristaps said this morning he feels back in the sense of being able to play off teammates and just the familiarity with everybody, but the conditioning is that next step for him to kind of be back fully to himself. How close does he look to you in terms of being all the way back to himself?
Yeah, I mean, I think he's there. His body's adapting well to the games. He's playing a little bit more he was on pace. He played 30 tonight. He was at 28, so he's in that 28 to 32 range nightly, and it feels good. So I think he's getting there.
Before the game, J.V. Bickerstaff said that the Celtics team is one of the most unselfish teams that he's seen. Curious from your standpoint, do you feel like winning the championship last year has made you guys even more that way because everybody knows that it works? Or do you feel like the group that you started with last year already kind of had this mentality?
Regardless of past results, I think it's I think it starts with just the guys that we have in the locker room. I think it's important to know that we do have egos. We just put them in the right place. It's not that we shouldn't have them. We put in the right place. So
we have ego.
The character of the guys, and I think they have a trust and an understanding of what can lead to long-term success.
We do have egos.
You have to commit to that every day, and I think the guys, work to commit to that.
JB said before the game that even without Tatum, you guys just kind of play the same way. You created 48 three-pointers tonight. I think you had 34 assists, one of your highest all season. What goes into the consistency you guys have been able to have over the last couple of seasons when you're missing key guys?
It's just the locker room. I mean, I think it's really just the expectation and the professionalism. It's not an excuse. Who's in, who's out, has an expectation to do their job, has an expectation to win.
Do your job.
But I think it's just them. They don't miss a beat because of their preparation, their attention to detail. And, when guys are out, you can take advantage of different guys' versatilities. With JT and Sam out, we played much more double big, and you're allowed to be more versatile with the Nimi, Luke, KP lineups. When you're in, it's difficult to get to those sometimes. So it's their preparation, their professionalism, and the willingness to just do their job regardless of what's going on.
Joe, it feels like we ask you about Peyton every game now, but he even stayed in at the end of the game there with some of the guys who are usually in Maine or don't get a lot of playing time. How much does he enjoy those moments? Does he ask to stay in those situations? Like, what is sort of the decision to leave him in there and just watching him sort of play a similar role with the starters and with those guys?
Yeah, he just loves to compete. So at the end of the day, I enjoy it. Teammates enjoy it. It's fun just watching him compete at a high level. He doesn't really play to a scoreboard. He just plays to compete. And that's a beautiful gift that he has. Thanks.
Wow.
Quick one. Hey.
In and out.
What else?
I like it, Joe.
What else do you need to really say?
Well, we just got that. We just
Joe, you got that
ass.
bench. How'd it feel? You know?
We beat that ass by 24. I'm going. I'm out.
Yeah, I like the. I mean, it's so Joe to say it, but to make sure that everyone knows that they do have egos. They just put them aside for the betterment of the team, for the greater good, to win games. And we can joke about it, but there's truth to it. At the end of the day, when you're in the NBA, Sherrod, I don't care if you're the number 1 guy or the 15th guy. All right, maybe the 12th guy. You've probably been the best player around for your entire life, right?
Yeah.
Give or take. Of course, there's some exceptions, but
like Bronny James. The
point I'm trying to make is these guys, of course, they have egos. They've been told that they're the best for 20 years, right? Or 25 years. And now they're on a team where most of them are, there's very clear, I wouldn't say very clear, but there's an order of, there's a pecking order, right? But on any given night, that order's going to, move around a little bit at the top.
Yeah.
It's just going to be who's going to be able to step in, who's going to be ready, who's going to fill this role tonight. It's team basketball. And so you do have to put your egos aside. You do have to say, okay, yeah, I know I could probably go out there and score 30, but are we going to win? Are my teammates going to be able to get theirs too? Are we going to have the right sort of juju kind of going into the next game and build some momentum? And this Celtics team, and I think it does start at the top with Tatum and with Brown and those guys that, we've kind of criticized them over the years at times, my ball, your ball. But you've never gotten the sense where it's just one guy, trying to be the only guy on the team. You haven't gotten that. And certainly not that last year. And to Noah's point, I think not this year either, because they have the recipe for success. They know what it takes. They know there's sacrifice involved, and you do have to put your egos aside. And you do have to, on a night where, let's just screw around and try to, let's try to pad our stats. It wasn't really like that. It wasn't that vibe.
No. And that's, it's a testament to just really the culture that they built here, where you can have some really good players who've done some pretty amazing things in the NBA, and yet they can come together as a collective and put a lot of that stuff to the side and just focus on what can I do to impact winning. And it's a very unusual thing to see, because the more you watch the Celtics and the teams they play, the clearer it becomes their advantage or their edge is not so much that they have more talent, but they have a better understanding of how to utilize their talent. And that it's one of those very subtle, nuanced type things that separates them from pretty much every other team in the NBA. And that's why they're one of the favorites to be the last team standing and repeat as NBA champs.
Yeah. I mean, and having seen it work certainly helps. You know what it's going to take. You've been through it. You've listened to everybody telling you to do it this way, or, sacrifice this. You've probably tried the ways that haven't worked. And, so having that recipe for success, tasting it and enjoying, the fruits of their labor, if you will, allows them to say, let's run it back. Let's just keep doing what we were doing. Let's do it better. Let's do it more. Let's improve in the areas that we know we can improve in, but still keep that same mentality of team first basketball. And it helps when you've got, 8 3-point shooters on your team, right? I mean, the difference in this one was pretty dramatic, Sherrod. I think at halftime, I think the Pistons were 2 of 19 from 3. 2 of 19 from 3. And they finished 7 of 37. But if you're 2 of 19 from 3 against this Celtics team, that was probably I don't know what they were at that point, but I think they had closer to around 9 or 10 threes. They ended up with 20 on the night. So 20 of 48, 42% from 3. If you're a team that's not hitting 3-pointers, you're gonna look at the score at the end of this one. It's gonna look similar. You're gonna lose by 24 points.
Yeah,
and we're seeing it more and more now. With I think what you're gonna see is teams who can at least try to make an emphasis on trying to go shot for shot, understanding that, listen, we need to figure out a way to shoot more threes. If we're not, we need to figure out a way to get guys more over 3, because this team is going to come out firing. 48 3-point attempts for the Celtics tonight. That a few years ago, that would be an outrageous number. We don't even bat an eye now when we see numbers like that. We just don't.
That number is called Thursday.
Exactly.
Thursday stats.
That's called, and then that's with bench guys playing too. So
Right.
I mean, if those guys have no concerns of the attempts going up there, then certainly nobody will. But you could tell at halftime, Sherrod, when you left, I'm sure you were just like, yeah, this one's done. I mean, this Pistons team just
There's a wrap.
cannot hang, if you will, with the Celtics team that's just shooting the way they do, and they really do have like 8. They're like 1 through 8 3-point shooters. I mean, who on this team right now? I mean, Jrue Holiday admittedly has not had a hot start to this season, but I will say tonight was a game where he showed some life out there. He was up and down the court. He did hit. We ended up with. He was 4 of 8 from the field, 2 of 4 from 3. Had a big 3 off the Jaylen Brown steal. I don't know if you saw that when you might have been driving, but third quarter there, Celtics went on one of those little mini microwave runs, we like to call them, right? When they get hot in about 10 seconds.
Right.
And I think it was a Pritchard 3, and then maybe it was the Holiday 3, something like that. But other than that, I mean, other than Holiday having a little bit of an off start, especially on that corner 3, you've got guys, you can go down the line. I mean, there's not a guy on this team that you wouldn't want taking that 3-point shot, which is so rare and unique on any NBA team. But this is their recipe for success. And as much as opposing teams or opposing fans might hate it, why wouldn't you keep playing this way?
Right.
Facts. I mean, that's a facts my dog if there ever was one. But you're talking about a team that's not going to ground and pound inside. They're not playing in the paint. They're not playing in the cylinder. Yeah, having Porzingis back allows them to have that low post presence, and he is one of the better post players in the NBA, right? And we talk a little bit about Porzingis at some point too, just how he's sort of, rolling back into things with this team. Maybe the efficiency isn't quite there yet, but he's given them another avenue of ways to score while still being able to take 25, 27-foot 3-point shots without a blink of an eye.
Right.
We got Jrue Holiday on the screen down here, so we might as well talk about him for a minute. But 12 points tonight from Jrue, 2 of 4 from 3. That's, again, the Jrue Holiday that the Celtics traded for was not probably. Let's put it this way: the 3-point shooting that we saw for Jrue Holiday last year was gravy, was the icing on top. I think he comes back down to earth clearly this season as he has been. I don't think you can expect to see 60% 3-point shooting from the corner, right? But what he's still going to give you on this team is the energy, the effort, the tenacity on defense. Is he getting up there a little bit in age? Of course. Father Time's undefeated. We're not there yet with Jrue Holiday. He is still a guy that can put the clamps on defenders. He's still going to be physical. He's still going to be aggressive out there. 7 rebounds tonight, 6 assists. It's a great stat line. If you're getting 12, 7, and 6 from Jrue Holiday on every single night, there are no problems with that. No one's having an issue with Jrue Holiday's production. I think what happened, who was it last game? When it was Jrue Holiday taking 20 shots. Who was that? I'm blanking on that now. The chat's probably going to go crazy. I hate when my brain fails me. But it was Grizzlies. Sorry, Grizzlies.
Oh, you're looking for a team? I thought you were looking for a player.
No, I'm trying to figure out the game in which that happened, in which the Grizzlies beat the Celtics, and you're looking at a box score, and the one thing that's going to jump out to you in that box score is Drew Holiday. 8 of 26 from the field, 4 of 17 from 3.
Wow.
So that's not a typical. I mean, those are outrageous numbers. Drew Holiday should not be taking that many shots. Obviously, it's the reason the Celtics lost that game, and you can go back and watch the film and see what it was that Memphis did to kind of force Holiday and the Celtics into those shots. Wasn't the case tonight, certainly. Completely different strategy, and again against a lesser team. Maybe the Grizzlies found something there. Maybe they saw something and they figured out a way that they could. Clearly, it worked for them. But that's kind of like the chess game of the NBA, right? Is it that like the Celtics staff have to go back, look at that film, and figure out, okay, how can we prevent Holiday from being in that situation? How can we get other guys available and open to prevent that level of shooting? Because clearly that's not who they want. If you're talking about shooters on the Celtics team, again, you didn't trade for Holiday for a shooting. You'll certainly let him take the three if he's open, but you've got guys on this team that you'd much rather see shooting the ball. Whether it's Tatum, Brown, Pritchard, White. I mean, I just rattled off Porzingis. I just rattled off 5 guys right there before Holiday gets mentioned that everybody would agree with. And then Hauser, I mean, depending on the night with Hauser, I know he's battling some injuries, so it's a little iffy with him right now too. But Holiday's not the guy you want taking 20+ shots a game.
Right.
It's the usual suspects. So it was a good bounce back game, I thought, from Holiday tonight. And again, a similar role production-wise that you're going to want to see from him moving forward on a team that, with him putting up those numbers, with all the other talent they have around him, that's pretty much what you need. It's what he gives you on the defensive end that's going to be his bread and butter. And then we got Derek White. We haven't really mentioned Derek White much tonight, but certainly with Tatum out, you knew there were going to be guys that were going to elevate the way they typically have. Derek White doesn't need Tatum to be out to do that, but certainly on a night where he is, you're looking for him a little bit more. 23 points tonight. How about that, Sherrod? 7 of 12 from 3-point
range.
Took 13 shots, 12 of them were threes, and he hit 7, man. I mean, this freaking guy is just unbelievable.
And he wasn't, I don't think he got off to the best of start shooting the ball either. Like, I think he just got into a nice rhythm at the half and just kind of kept it going from there.
They needed like somebody to kind of get going right in this game, and it was Pritchard, especially in that second quarter. I think Pritchard kind of set the tone and got guys kind of buzzing a little bit after that start. And Derek White said, "All right, big dog. I'll ride." And those two guys kind of led the way there. But what White's been giving you this year, I mean, you talk about having 3 All-Stars. I think that's an easy call at this. I mean, maybe am I biased or am I just not watching enough of the?
You are absolutely biased.
I am biased, but
you might be right with this one though. Your bias might be leading you down the right path.
I just don't know how you can. Again, I'd have to really. Bobby and Noah could answer it easier than I could because those guys are like 24/7 NBA. I'm like not 24.
Not 24.
I am 7. I'm not 24 though. I got to get my sleep. I got to get some other things in. But going around the Eastern Conference, I mean, if you're a Celtics team that's just playing the way they are right now, obviously, you've got your guys at the top, and Derek White is kind of like the heartbeat of this team.
Yeah, he really is. He really is. And the thing about it, he's going about handling his business without trying to conform to how others handle their business. He's just doing what he does, and it's working for him. He's kind of like Porzingis from the standpoint of just being a wild card factor that you know what he can do, but you can't fully measure his impact on outside the lines, and things of that nature for this Celtics team to be the best version of who they want to be at the end of the day. So Derek White's having a great year. I think he's doing a lot of really good things, and someone who again has so many attributes that benefit the Celtics organization. So fans love them some Derek White, and he. This was
Mhm.
another game that reminds us why people love him so much around here.
It's White, and it's talking about the fans, not to jump around, but the only reason when you say that, I immediately remembered the reaction that Pritchard got entering the game, and you were there.
Yeah.
Is anyone getting bigger cheers than Pritchard is right now? And I'm being honest. I am being completely honest. And Tatum, I'm including everybody on the Celtics team. At least from watching it on television, the sound that I'm hearing is I don't hear a bigger applause for anybody than Peyton Pritchard right now. And I'm not saying it's not warranted, the way he's playing and his emergence and sixth man of the year and all that stuff. And obviously during the game, it's pretty much, it's not focused on one guy. It's who's hitting these shots and who's, it could be Derek White at any moment too. But when you're entering the game or when you are on a little bit of a streak, it feels like Pritchard's the guy that's getting the fans going like more than anybody right now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And he's another example of a guy on his team who doesn't have a clear path to getting on the court. So you make some tough choices. Two of them to me are just staying as is and just kind of going from there. Bottom line, though, with this Celtics team, they're really good. And I know it's like, duh, but how many
That's
teams?
The show.
Yeah, thanks for coming out. But the way that this team is built, though, I mean, Joe touched on it. They don't miss a beat when a guy is out. And when you're talking about a guy like Tatum, who's is legitimate top 5, certainly player in this league, and they miss a game, and your guys are like, okay, we just got to go out and kick some ass without our guy. That's what we do. So they're just this team, just the way they're built. It's just so impressive. The way they consistently play at a high level. They don't really take plays off. Obviously, they're not going to be 100% foolproof with that, but they generally are. They're not, shrunking their responsibility to be a top team. They want that smoke, and they want that smoke all the time. So
they want the smoke. I'm wondering if anybody in the chat took any Celtics players in prize picks tonight. Jackson, hit me with the prize picks. Let's wait a second. You got a message here. Yeah, hit me with the prize picks, Jackson, because if you're on prize picks right now, I hope you're going more on these Celtics teams. Well, you're saying, what is prize picks? Well, prize picks is the best place to get real money sports action with over 10 million members and billions of dollars in awarded winnings. Prize picks has made daily fantasy sports accessible to all. You just pick more or less. Hopefully you pick more on Celtics and less on Pistons, except Cunningham, on at least 2 players for a shot to win up to 200 times. That's 200 times your cash. Run your game all season long on Prize Picks, America's #1 daily fantasy app. And you know what, guys? The holidays, so make them bigger and brighter with Prize Picks. The best place to play and get free money action while watching your favorite sports. I will say it now offers MasterCard for quick and easy deposits into your account this sports season. So, you know what? Maybe you're, there's what goes. I know the NFL is trying to hijack Christmas, but it's still the NBA for me. So what's going to be better on Christmas? Waking up, doing the gifts. Hopefully you were good this year. You get a gift, and then turn on basketball at noon and just prize picking the whole rest of the day. 12, 2, 5, 8. You know what I mean? I mean, what's better than that? Take a break for a little meal, a little Christmas ham. But there really is nothing better than that. Join now because this holiday season, Prize Picks is giving away 2 free picks in December. And they're giving away $30+ million in rewards during Pixmas. We're calling it Pixmas, Sherrod. Pixmas. You sign up today and get $50 instantly when you play $5. You don't even need to win to receive the $50 bonus. It's guaranteed. Prize Picks also offers weekly promotions that can lead to big payouts like Taco Tuesday. Each Tuesday, Prize Picks discounts select player projections up to 25% to provide even more value for your lineups. So download the app today and use the code CLNS to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. Played one last week, didn't hit, but it just gets you the bug to want to go and do it. You got to pour over. What did I do wrong? What did I think, and where did I go wrong? So again, guys, download the app today. Use the code CLNS to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. Prize Picks. Run your game.
Allows me to read the shot way
yeah.
easier because like they're either playing up on me, then I drive. If not, then it's a easy release for me. It also allows guys to make the read. Like if I'm out there, if guys are in the paint, they're not going to be able to close out. So most teams now are going to take a step towards me, and I'm really past the three-point line. So where they're helping at is already on the three-point line. So you got guys like JT, JB, where the driving lanes are that much open. So it just it creates a lot of openness on the court and makes the driving lanes a lot easier and the reads a lot easier.
When JT's not going, does that change your mindset? Do you feel that changes the collective mindset of the group in any way in terms of how you're going to contribute and the ways in which you're going to engage?
It shouldn't at all. Try to keep the same mindset. I mean, at the end of the day, we try to hang our hat on playing just the right basketball. So no matter who is in, you make the right reads regardless. So it's not like JT's playing and you're like, oh, I'm going to get more shots tonight. Like that should never be the case. I'm always hunting to take the right shots, make the right passes. So, and when he comes back, we should continue to always play like that.
And is Sixth Man of the Year something that you're intentional about at this point? Is that something you've put on your radar?
It's not something I really think about. If I'm fortunate to win, that's I guess a testament to the hard work I put in, and I think it just means that I've helped this team and coming off the bench and doing my job at a high level. So it's not something I'm like, if I don't win, it's not make or break it for me. I'm gonna continue what I'm doing, and but yeah, it would be an honor.
Be an honor because you
For
get a
sure,
raise.
JB Bickerstaff said this is one of the most unselfish teams that he's seen. And then Joe said that it's not that you guys don't have egos, you just know where to put them. From your standpoint, obviously you've talked about being really confident even when you weren't playing, even when you weren't in this position. How do you balance being really confident and having an ego, but also together being a really unselfish team from your standpoint?
Well, I think Joe's right. We all have egos. We're all really confident people, and I don't think we'd be in the position we are today without a little bit of that. And you got to have that. But it's understanding that at times you got to do what's best for the team. And that's a selflessness that our guys have and should continue. So obviously it contributes to winning. And so, yeah, good group of guys.
And do you feel like winning last year helped make people realize that the way that you guys played is the winning formula? Like there's more buy-in even. You don't even have to push past it, if that makes sense.
For sure. I mean, you did
sure.
it, so
For sure.
It works. You should buy into it, and we should continue to do it. And what I love about our group is it really can be somebody's night every different nights. Like KP could go for 30, JB 30, JT. Like that's what makes it so good. Is just you can't really game plan one person. Like it could be anybody's night.
Peyton, I've never seen a big like KP 7-2 just pull up from three the way he does. The confidence, the range. How does that change the way big?
He's been doing it ever since he got in the league. What are you talking about? You've never seen it before.
He's a matchup problem because if you switch him, we always tell him like if he gets 2 feet in the paint and you throw it to him, it's almost automatic, or you got to foul him. And then obviously if a big is guarding him and he's on the perimeter, you have to like guard him way out. And what does that do for us? The driving lanes are open. There's no rim protection. And obviously that's a big problem with the guards we have. So, I mean, him and Al they open the game up so much for us, the way they can space the floor. So it is huge, and that's why he's a tremendous player. Thank you.
All right.
Tremendous player.
That was the P party himself. We are going to bring in our own party guy.
Hey there, Bobby Manning.
Bobby Manning in the building. B party. What's up, Bobby?
What's going on?
How you living?
Easy one tonight.
Yeah,
this is great.
Did you have feet up? And that's it. Were you like laptop?
Oh, yeah.
Like I've seen you in the blowouts. You go feet up like on the table, and you just kind of like start
Yeah.
scrolling Twitter. You're not really
Articles done.
Yeah, articles, game stories written.
Now the post game's done.
Post game's
everything's
over.
done. This is great.
That's it. Well, we're not going to break down play by play this game, Bobby, but I asked Sherrod off the top kind of what stood out to him in this one. What did you take from it? Who stood out? I mean, you were there, obviously, post game too. What do you got for us? What do you hot on this game?
Yeah, we know at this point that they can sit at Tatum, they can sit at Hauser and be okay and be more than okay, be up by 30 points in a game where they do that. So that's no surprise in a game like this. I did find Joe's comment interesting about how part of it is them being interchangeable, but part of it also is that guys can play different styles, different roles when they're out or when other guys are out. And I think you see that with Pritchard in a game like this. He obviously just talked about how he's not hunting shots more with Tatum out, but more are available to him. And he's able to succeed at a lower shot number and a higher shot number like we saw tonight. And then for Cornette, who is excellent in this game as well, I think he was able to thrive in a double big look there with Porzingis, and that ended up being a good combination that they got to through the course of this game. I love that play. As many points as he had in this game, where he's diving downhill, catching the ball on the move, and passing out to White for three. And that's something we haven't seen yet, him and Porzingis playing off each other. So with each passing game, Sherrod, whether it's guys resting or in and out of the lineup or they're just trying different stuff, I feel like we're seeing a little something new that they can take note of through each of these games. They're obviously not going to benefit a ton from this win tonight long term, right? But maybe they look at what they did with that Porzingis-Cornette combo and they see a chance down the line to use that again, and they do some of the stuff that they did with that group in there at a more important point in the season. So I feel like just about every night we're seeing a little something that they can carry forward into the future. And it was only a few small things here in this one, but they could end up being important nonetheless. You saw some Allen Cada together. This was a very double big oriented game, and it looked pretty good.
Facts.
That it did. It looked very good. You mentioned double big. Is that something that you think we're going to see a little bit more? Is that just matchup based? Is that just because Tatum was out? I mean, or is that something that Joe's feeling a little bit more comfortable with those guys in there at the same time?
I think it's where they're at with their wings, and it is a question we have to continue to ask here. Obviously, it hasn't hurt them too much this season, but you go down Tatum, you go down Hauser. I feel like in most spots this season, obviously not tonight, that they've missed Hauser, and you still saw Walsh, Peterson, and spots in this game. I was glad that they were able to get some opportunities, but they didn't do too much with it. So you still feel better about Porzingis moving over the four, Horford's line over the four next to Akeda, rather than having an extra wing out there. And Walsh, again, he got those two great opportunities. They're looking for him. He gets those wide open corner threes, and he can't cash them again, even if they're that nice afternoon he had in Maine on Sunday. So that's a tough one out of this one, is that he wasn't able to get going. I know he had that dunk later, but you got to take advantage of those opportunities. I thought Peterson was fine and didn't do a ton, didn't have to do a ton. But right now we're still looking at a team that, rather than playing those depth wings, and Shireman is about to begin a long stint in Maine, as Noah told us the other day, they're more confident in their bigs sliding over to those wing spots than some of their depth wings right now.
You mentioned Porzingis. Where are you at with him? About, what is he, 6 games in now? Do you like where he's at with this team? Do you like the shots that he's getting? I don't think anyone's watching him play and say, oh, he's favoring something, or he's not. He's still, not healthy. I don't think that's it at all. But where do you see how he's sort of slid back into things through the first 5 or 6 games here?
Yeah, we talked to him a couple times this morning. He talked as well as after the game tonight, and he said he's probably going to need a few more games till he feels like he's back to that full level of conditioning. Wasn't able to do a ton in his recovery process of up and down work until those main scrimmages that set him up to return. So you see the moments tonight. I don't know if you guys saw on TV, but a couple of the longer sequences he played, you see the hands on the knees. You see a little bit of fatigue from him. The three-pointer isn't quite back. And I don't know if that's a rhythm or fatigue, flow of the game thing, or he's just missing them. They're obviously pretty good looks. And he talked a little bit about that after the game there too. But he said he feels like, a couple more games, couple more extended minutes. He went for 30 tonight. He's going to be back to that full form conditioning wise. And in terms of integrating back to the team, that was easy, he said, just because it's the same group, same guys that he's been playing with. And I think you see that with him. The Brown stuff tonight was seamless. It's such a good combination passing wise. I loved them going to him in the high post and Brown cutting downhill and getting the and one there. So I liked how they utilized his passing tonight. That was a great chase down block too. He had at one point. So
Yeah,
I feel like we're
that was a
getting
good one.
like what 85% of what Porzingis usually is.
That's probably fair. I mean,
Yeah.
he's averaging 20 points a game. But yeah, that 3-point shot is not falling. I think he's 3 for 17 over the last 2 games. So tonight, and then in the last one.
And he gets to take a lot of them, so you do want to see that turn at some point, but it's still pretty early.
Right. I mean, he could go 6 for 10 and nobody would bat an eye, the next game, right? So I think it's a matter of just getting in the rhythm, especially with the outside shooting. Once you see a couple go down, all of a sudden they all start to fall. So I don't think anyone's concerned about that. But it is good to see him, just getting the burn, and like you said, Bobby, it's going to take a few more games to sort of get in that NBA game playing shape. But when you're in an organization like Boston and you've got these championship aspirations, and certainly he does as well, it's not going to take long, right? I mean, it's not going to take long at all to get to where you need to be. I think we're going to get Noah joining us shortly here, which is good. Oh,
there we go.
Very shortly.
There we go.
She's muted though. We can see her, but we can't hear her. That's fine.
Presto changeo. Presto changeo rearrangeo.
There we go. Everything's going great. The Celtics tonight, Noah. Hopefully they didn't put you to sleep in that second half. It wasn't exactly a barn burner, but some good things to come out of it. Your guy Peyton Pritchard had himself another night. Talked about it earlier. He might be the fan favorite right now. Bobby, you were there as well. We talked about it with Sherrod.
The crowd pop was crazy when he checked in.
Is anyone getting a bigger pop than Pritchard right now? We might have to change the name.
He might be getting it. The crowd, they go through waves. It was Derek White for a little, then it was KP. I do think it's Pritchard now, but they do go through waves.
They've loved Pritchard for a long time, but now it's just
when did they start loving him? When do
elevated.
you think they started loving him?
Last year.
The day he arrived.
No.
Come on.
Bobby. Maybe you did.
I think it started in the playoffs last year with the half court heat. I feel like that's where his legacy became.
You mean like the loud applause?
Yeah, I mean, of course he's gonna have some diehard cult fans, but like
there's always been a nice applause for him entering the game.
I think Noah's probably onto something. We're in the playoffs where those half court shots start to fall like way too regularly. That's when like the legend of Pop Pritchard just kind of came out. And so now I think he's getting a louder applause than anybody else on the team right now. Not a big deal. I mean, it's just something that I've found. But again, another night. Noah, I know you were there for Pritchard because we heard you ask a question. Thoughts on Pritchard's performance tonight and his response to you about the egos, or the lack thereof, going around the Celtics team.
Well, I think there are egos, and I know he has an ego. That's why I was curious for his take. But
sorry, they have egos, but as Joe pointed out, it's just something I've noticed.
So I'll start. The reason I was doing that line of questioning post game today is because I feel like a bunch of away coaches have come into this building and actually sat in this table where I'm sitting right now because I'm in the away press conference room.
Nice.
And they have said that this is a really unselfish team. And honestly, it always I don't want to say it surprises me, but because they're the team that I cover and they're the team that I watch, like I'm just used to them being this way.
Mm-hmm.
But I think for them, they come in and they're like, you'd actually be surprised that it's really unusual for teams to just like make the right pass and for guys to pass to the open person and to trust that person. Because I asked Bickerstaff, like, why did he say that? And so, yeah, so that's kind of why I was curious because I think it almost kind of, we don't even talk about it very often, how negative this team is. How unselfish this team is. You guys are throwing me off. But yeah, so the reason I asked Richard about it. But I lost my train of thought. Can I just say one thing?
Sure.
I've said this last post-game show, I've gotten so much hate for saying that Tatum is better than Giannis. The Bucks fans have not left me alone. And then I come here and you guys are all yelling at me saying that I hate Tatum. So pick a side.
Who said that? I didn't say anything.
Look at these comments and you're pinning them.
Oh, no. I just put a quote up. I thought that it came from you. My bad. I thought that we were just giving you your quotes on stage here. No,
by the way.
No.
I can't win.
Giannis had 37 and 4
blocks. I don't want to talk about Giannis anymore.
In the cup. Oh, in the cup.
Yeah.
God. Yeah, make sure you note that. No, what you were saying was you were making a very good point about how we probably don't
We
notice
take it for
it.
granted, I think.
Yeah, we take it for granted. And when opposing teams are going over the film, preparing for the Celtics team, that's probably one of the things that jumps off the page for them is that how they whip the ball around. And I was talking about it with Sherrod before you guys jumped on. There's not really a player or players on this team that want to make it about them, that want to go out and get theirs before anybody else does. If it happens on that night, then it happens on that night. But it doesn't ever feel like that was like their mentality going in. And so it shows in the box scores, it shows in the final scores, it shows in the record that. And Bobby, didn't Jaylen Brown specifically say that there's going to be nights where like Pritchard takes control against the Pistons? You're muted.
I threw that in my lead tonight.
Did you?
First thing he said this year at training camp.
Yeah.
We're going to have nights going against teams like the Pistons where we'll just let Pritchard go out there and score 30, which has happened, but he understated it. They're letting him do that every night. That's going to be the whole season, is just let him go handle stuff. And he's going to be the guy who just carries them through the season. I do wonder where they'd be at without him doing everything he's done so far, because Noah's mentioned it a bunch. There's been so many games, this game included, where they were dead to start, awful starts all year long, and he comes in and the game changes, and he ends up steadying, creating, carrying their offense throughout. It's so crazy at this point. He adds a couple finishes in this game too inside, all the passing growth he's accomplished. You just expect it at this point. I Noah tweeted me during the game that it was a big Cornette and Pritchard night. So this is a great night for us.
Yeah.
I always said it with Luke, right? This is what he does. He can say it with Pritchard now too. This is what he does. 20 points, great shooting.
I'm glad that Luke paved the pathway for Pritchard.
Exactly. Never mind the hour spent in the gym or playing pickup with some kid in the park. It's Luke.
It's always been Luke. So yeah, I mean, Pritchard's
10 assists too. That was the key.
10 assists, 1 turnover. He didn't. And that's again, it's more of the same in a way with Pritchard. I mean, these nights. Again, to talk about taking it for granted, you're not going to take it for granted what Pritchard's doing, because it is something that's really kind of surprised everybody to an extent, everyone except Noah, of course. But you are less surprised by seeing him be the guy, seeing him get the applause, seeing him come off the bench and score in bunches like that. And kind of, I think they needed somebody to kind of get them into gear offensively, because this game had a really slow start to it. And, he was one of the guys that was able to sort of start filling up the basket. And I think a player like White, jumped in as well on the fun. And you got some help from Porzingis and, the likes. But, at halftime, this game was over, Bobby. I mean, the 3-point shooting, the Pistons are just not a team that's going to be able to keep up with the Celtics team when it comes to just straight up shooting. And I think they only had 2 3-pointers at halftime. And that kind of told the whole story there.
Yeah, and that was a much different way than it went a week ago, where Pistons hit all their threes, 20 last week to Boston's 21, and they started 1 of 17 in this game. So obviously different adjustment there. I thought there were some good moments from Keita getting out to the 3-point line. They were sending Porzingis out there to defend some shots at different times. He had some good contests. So back to we were talking before you came on here, Noah, about the double big looks that carried them through this game rather than the wings, the depth wings. It was good stuff across the board. I thought all their bigs in this game gave them some good stuff for the most part. It felt like a quiet Horford night, but that's just a Horford experience at this point. His impact's going to be a little more understated in terms of scoring, but still decent stuff from him, and he's always going to give you the defense.
This was a good night for double big, for sure.
Bobby mentioned that. Bobby did mention the double big aspect of it before. And then I asked him, when he mentioned double big, his thoughts on Porzingis so far, Noah. And I'd like to get your thoughts as well, because we're 6 games in now with Porzingis. He's averaging around 20 points a game. He's obviously still, I think in his own words, or in my words, summarizing him, he's trying to get his NBA wind back completely where it needs to be. But other than that, I mean, is there anything that stands out to you in any way about the game that you're watching him play so far?
Yeah, honestly, I think just the fact that he's he's putting up these numbers without really much hiccups. Like I know he said at shoot around today that he feels like he's not at completely himself, and there are little things that are maybe less noticeable where he's a step behind. But objectively speaking, considering he had missed like 6 months of playing 5-on-5 basketball, this has been a pretty seamless transition. He's averaging 20.6 points on 46% shooting, 8 rebounds. He's put up several of these big nights. Tonight I thought he looked really good. Beyond just the stats that he's putting up, the rim protection is just completely different when he's there. Like, I want to start writing down every time somebody doesn't take a shot or a shot is a clear miss because Porzingis is there. Whereas, a month ago, we'd be talking about how they got eaten alive in the paint. Like, I do think that that's how substantive his impact is. So it's impressive. It's one of his best skills. As much as he's injury prone, one of his best skills is how good he is at coming back from these injuries, because most people would have a period of time where they're acclimating, where they're not super confident. It seems like he honestly forgets about the injury, and he's like, they'll let me know if I need to be concerned about it. And that's always kind of been his mentality. I think a lot of guys would be a lot more hesitant, and you're just not seeing that. He's going to get in better shape, obviously, but through 5 games, I've been overall impressed with how he's been able to help this team.
Yeah, and he got banged up on Saturday. It was like, that's not good. He left the game, and you don't know if he's coming back. I know John was super concerned that night, seeing him go out with the same ankle that he hurt before. Had surgery on before, rather, and he came back in that second half, and tonight he's rolling again. No ill effects from that, and he's, I feel like, been able to, when other than that major injury and that that combined with the one in the first round had a major effect on the postseason in terms of his availability. I feel like he's stayed relatively healthy for this group. There haven't been a ton of major injuries, major missed time, and of course that one stands out massively because he missed so much time from let's say early May until this fall. But when he's been there, he's been able to play consistently. He's been able to give them big minutes, and this experience just continues to be great. We don't have the sound right now. We might later in the show, but Gary asked him a great question about how much joy he's playing with right now. Is this the most joy he's played with in his career? And he said there's been other times, like he really enjoyed Washington. He loved playing in Spain at the very beginning of his career. And, the national team, he said, is always great. But after that Dallas stint, which was probably a low point for him and a point where he lost that joy the most, this is the height of that for him. And, he said he's showing it with his smiling and just how good of a mood he's been in since he got here. And, we had concerns about that, Jimmy, just based on how the Dallas thing went. I feel like whether it was his fault or Luka's fault or whatever happened there, that whole time gave him a bad rap. And I guess
it was Luka's fault. Luka's the real problem.
It's always Luka's fault. It's always Luka's fault.
Whiny baby. You know what I mean? I think if Luka was on the Celtics team, everyone would hate Luka. That's my take. That's my take.
I disagree.
I think people would. He's a little crybaby.
In Boston or nationwide?
In Boston.
I think nationwide he'd be 10 times as hated if he was in Boston.
Oh, well, of course, he's a Celtic.
But I don't think. I think in Boston, if they had an MVP caliber player, which they have, like you're just gonna like that guy.
There would be some things that would annoy.
Put it this way: Giannis would jump off a bridge. I think Giannis would jump off a bridge at the way that Luka plays. I'm telling you, we only see the shots he makes and the highlights and all that stuff, unless you're really watching Dallas Mavericks games. But I have a feeling that Luka would drive people crazy if he was like on their team. And he probably drove Porzingis crazy. Going back to that point. Before we move on, I want to tell everybody about our great friends at Game Time. Game Time is the place to go to get your tickets, folks, whether it's concerts, whether it's sporting events, everything in between. Download the Game Time app, create an account, use the code CLNS for $20 off your first purchase. Terms do apply. We've got the college. There might be some big college football fans watching. There probably is. And we've got the playoffs all picked out now.
Playoffs.
The playoffs. We got the 12-team system, and those tickets are going to be available on Game Time now. Obviously, NFL is getting into the not for the Patriots, but for a lot of NFL teams, the important games are starting right now, right? Kind of like mid-December. Trying to get your playoff positioning lined up. So if you're a fan of any playoff teams, Game Time is the place to go. Filters out the fluff to show you only the incredible deals on great seats, so you don't have to waste time searching through thousands of tickets. Now, Bobby's a big NBA Cup guy. Bobby's a big NBA Cup guy. If he is so big into the NBA Cup, it would only cost him, Sherrod, $14 on Game Time.
Wow.
To go to an NBA Cup semifinal, Milwaukee Bucks versus Atlanta Hawks. He could get in the door on Game Time right now for $14. That is how good the Game Time app is, and that maybe is how bad the NBA Cup is. And I know Bobby doesn't want to talk about it because that goes against his, he's trying to push the cup. Well, guess what?
Did you watch the games?
I don't need to watch the games. That's the whole point.
I want to. If
amazing.
we're done with this, I want to say something about the ad. I want to say something about the cup.
All right. And by
I
the way,
almost said to Bobby, but I said I'll save it for the show.
Game Time does all-in pricing, so it toggles the features to show you the total up front. No surprise fees at checkout. Everybody hates those fees. You get to see your seat view ahead of time. They guarantee the lowest price, which, again, if we're talking about the NBA Cup, it looks like it's $14 right now. And they'll cover your ticket. Not that it would matter for the Cup, but your purchase is covered with the most flexible customer service policy in the ticket industry. So download the Game Time app, create an account, and use the code CLNS for $20 off your first purchase. How about that for a deal? Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem the code CLNS for $20 off. Download Game Time today. What time is it, Sherrod?
Game time.
Game time.
Game time.
Noah, you have the floor.
I was just gonna say I have not been a cup enthusiast. I think I've made that clear.
Yep.
Join the club. Join the club.
This past week, I watched a couple cup games. I do think for the young teams like the Houstons, it's really fun to watch because you're watching guys in the biggest moment of their NBA career thus far because they haven't had those playoff moments. And so if that can be the cup, like just more of those teams, like the young up and coming, like even Atlanta, like this is a new group. They haven't done anything yet together. This is their first time as a unit doing something cool. Like I was kind of getting into it yesterday, watching them go against the Warriors. I think I wouldn't feel the same way if it was Celtics Bucks because it's like there's been better battles between those two teams that like the cup's not going to be like the big chapter here. But I'm more into the cup than I was, and I think that watching just some of the guys in Houston celebrating after that game yesterday, like I'm all for a dramatic celebration, even if it's the preseason. Like I think we may as well all have fun here and like care about basketball. So the way that they were reacting, I was thinking to myself, like this is kind of the first time that this group has done anything. Like they were not before.
And what did Kerr say? He was furious about the final call.
He was
like,
pissed off that he just lost Game 7. So I was like, what?
We wanted to win the cup.
+3. So
that's what he
I'm
said.
not going to say
I know. I saw the quote. But
I'm coming around.
I think, again, we're not going to go on a cup tangent. We've done it before.
Too many times.
That's where they should be, Jimmy.
We
shouldn't be sitting here watching a Pistons Celtics ball.
Okay, but I'm not going to be. Bobby's pissed that they're not in the cup still. That I don't feel.
Yep.
I will say, I mean, like, this was a boring Celtics game, and yeah, could it have been more interesting if they were playing against?
Get ready, Jimmy. Well, you don't have to get ready, Jimmy, because you're gonna not be here. But Celtics Wizards on Sunday.
You going to DC, Jimmy?
I'm not gonna be at DC for that one.
You're not gonna see it? Oh, that's too bad.
I'm not gonna be in DC for that one.
We could have Celtics Bucks,
but
instead.
But if the majority of the league is suffering because of this, then how is it a good thing?
It doesn't make sense. Yeah, I don't know why this is trade-off.
All the fans who apparently aren't watching good games in the Cup, they're watching bad games now.
No, I think
non-Cup teams are playing each other.
I guess I don't know. This game tonight was pretty weak, but then the losing teams get more of a break. Like
that's fair. Yeah,
it benefits It depends what your aspirations are. Like the Rockets' aspirations, or I guess they're playing all right, but some teams' aspirations are not going to be the same as other teams. So like the winning teams would much rather, if you gave, they're not going to ever say it public, but if you gave them the two options of you can either advance in the Cup, play harder teams and play more games in a closer amount of time, or you get more time off, you get an easier schedule, and you can kind of, I don't know, rest up a little bit before the holidays and then like maybe tack on a couple extra wins against bad teams. Like, I don't know. Like, there's too many things going on there's too many things going on that don't make sense. The fact that the tickets are $14 for a game that's supposed to matter also goes to show you that there's not a lot of demand for it. And again, maybe the tickets would be a little more expensive with different teams in there. I'm sure if the Warriors were in it, the ticket prices would be higher. But that's just because it's the Warriors, not because it's the Cup. I mean, people will pay to go watch the Warriors in any arena.
Yeah, it doesn't make sense. A lot of the benefits / cost of being part of it. And this layoff's crazy. I mean, they're about to play one game now over the next week. The rest you earn from missing this is substantial. And obviously, if you make the championship, you have to play an 83rd game. So I don't know what they're going to do with this thing in terms of the scheduling of it, in terms of the benefit of actually winning it. Certainly some teams are going to benefit more than others, having been part of it. Noah mentioned, and you said, Jimmy, there, like those up-and-coming teams. Feels like they're going to get the most out of this thing. But you still do see a Knicks team in it. You still see the Warriors in this thing, wanting to win it, wanting to be part of it. So I think John said it last year. When you're in it and you have the chance to go get it, you're going to take that opportunity. But if you don't get it, you're not that mad. And you should probably be more mad. You should probably be feeling it more if you miss it. Instead, the Celtics are just able to sit back this week and rest and recover, get a couple practices in, get some easier games. Now, that's not a given, but it worked out for them that way. So this obviously isn't going to hurt them, and it might help them that they missed this. And that doesn't make any sense if they want to make this thing matter. And I don't know how you fix that. I really don't.
I don't either. We're not going to figure it out tonight, but it's something for the NBA people to figure out what they need to do to make it worth. Teams either make it worth something for everybody or make it not worth something for everybody. You know what I mean? Like it's just too all over the place right now. So they'll have to work on that. And when they do, we'll have a show and we'll talk about all the adjustments they've made. But we're done talking about the Cup. However, if you're interested in it, go to Game Time, spend $14, and enjoy Las Vegas for a couple nights. We're not going to have the longest show, guys, because it wasn't really one of those games. But I want to definitely talk to Noah and Bobby about anything else they heard after the game, talking to the players in the locker room, or anything Joe said that stuck out to you. I think there's a practice tomorrow. Is that accurate?
Yep.
So there's probably going to – well, I shouldn't assume that there's going to be any availability from it, but
no, there will be.
Well, they're supposed to be, but we'll see what actually happens. But as far as tonight goes, was there anything after the game or even before the game that us regular people who don't have the same access to you guys might not know about or might not have heard about that you want to share?
Well, this morning, Tatum shot around, and I think there's obviously some concern there, given that they had all those days off, that he had to miss this one just a week after resting the last Pistons game. Joe didn't seem concerned about it and said it's something that's come and gone, the knee soreness or whatever is going on there that forced him to miss tonight. Maybe they just lined up 2 games against the Pistons that they feel like they could get him out of before more important games coming up. I don't know. But it was weird that he missed this game after 4 days off. So that was one thing. He was shooting around this morning and looked okay. The Hauser thing, we've talked about it all year. They miss him. And I actually looked it up before the game. I think their offense is like 8 points better per 100 when he's on the floor this year. So he's indispensable to them. And after playing 79 games last year, he's hurt again. And he did quite a bit at shoot around this morning. Got a ton of threes up, was moving, even doing a little contact with one of the assistants there under the basket. So it doesn't feel like he's going to be out for too long, but he didn't look like he was walking great before practice on what day was that? Wednesday. So I feel like, with some extra days off here, he'll be in a good place, whether he has to miss that Wizards game or not. But
I mean,
it does
it's
stink.
kind of wild. He misses one game tonight, and he's going to have like 10 days off practically.
Yeah. Yeah. So I think the big thing, obviously, I don't think there's a ton of concern about Tatum, Noah, but I think the big thing with Hauser now is that stuff just keeps coming up this year. And the back thing lingered to begin the year, and I don't know how much this will linger, if at all, but it's tough after 79 games from him last year that he hasn't been able to stay on the court consistently this year.
Yeah. I mean, he's not an injury-prone player historically, but these things are all connected, I think. I mean, you can prove that, but Like if you have a back thing and he's clearly dealing with the back thing, we're seeing him on the bench with whatever it is, a hot pack, a cold pack, whatever it is. And you're just more prone to stretching something else out or so. And the same way I felt about Porzingis last year, we don't know for sure that the calf injury was related to that ligament that I still don't know how to say that he tore, but probably it was because you're overcompensating for things. So this time is good for him. Even if he were to miss 2 months now, which obviously it's not going to happen with the current injuries, like they'd be okay.
Noah
but
said it too. Hauser out 2 months.
No, I knocked on wood. You guys didn't see. I knocked on wood. So I'm just saying, I think that he's not like an injury prone guy all of a sudden, but when you have something that you're battling with, you're just more likely to have something else happen. And I think that's kind of what we're seeing right now. But I was that adductor thing, like I thought that I was going to keep him out a little longer. The fact that he was going through a full shoot around today is a pretty good sign, considering it was like 3 days after the injury, 4 days.
True.
Anything after this game that stood out? You guys, did anyone?
I have
else
a really
speak
niche.
tonight?
I have a really niche thing
We
I
love
wanted
niche.
to bring up. Okay,
We're all about niche on the Garden Report. So.
I love watching the Maine Celtics. I'm sorry. I
Okay,
love watching the Maine Celtics.
Never mind.
I immediately take back what I said.
I'll be brief. Give me 60 seconds. Okay?
This was from when I had my feet up scrolling Twitter, Jimmy.
yeah, I'm about to do the same. All right, you have the floor again, Noah, as the viewers plummet. But let's go.
Okay, this is all I'm gonna say. JD Davison, he has been phenomenal in Maine. He's been one of the best players in the G League. I love watching him in Maine. Okay, and then he comes to Boston, and in these garbage time, whatever you want to call them, minutes, it doesn't seem like he even wants the ball in his hands. Today he got just picked off the dribble like 2 consecutive possessions. I felt like my son was out there playing. I wanted him to do so well, and like it didn't pan out. And I don't know what it is. I don't know if it's just so much pressure when you've been in the G League for 3 years and dominating. I mean, he had 40 points last week. He's the leading assister in the G League, one of the leading scorers. Assister's not a word, but you know what I mean? He's been so good. And so I'm just sad that this is not panning out for him in Boston. I don't know if he just needs a bigger opportunity where he knows he's going to get more consistent minutes, or if it's just literally the physical difference between Boston and Maine. He feels it right away, and maybe that's what's disrupting him. But that was my one unfortunate thing about today. He had that 6-minute stretch when he checked in. I was like, this is a big portion of time here. Like he could really do some damage. He had a 3, but he didn't look comfortable. He didn't look like the JD that I know in Maine. So
you know what John would say, Jimmy. 4A.
Yeah.
4A player.
So Noah, you took the time. You basically just said trade JD Davis.
No, I didn't say that. I just said that's.
Well, you kind of said that you pretty much said he needs a new like.
You're putting words in her mouth, Jimmy. She didn't say that.
Oh, it's all that ever happens here, Sherrod. That's all that ever happens here.
No. Listen, you would. I mean, you have a good perspective because you do pay attention to what goes on up there a lot more than a lot of people. So you would be able to say more than most of us whether or not he does look uncomfortable out there if he's not playing the same way. It might have to do with the fact that the opponents aren't in the G League when he's in Boston. So that might have something to do with it a little bit. But again, games like these for the diehards are great because you get that fourth quarter where you get to see.
I was interested to see how he would do. Yeah.
Yeah. You get to see Davison. You get to see a little bit of Walsh in this game. You even saw some Tillman. Our old friend Tillman got a little burned.
He's still on the roster after all these weeks.
So that is one of the things. But post-game, did anyone else speak besides Pritchard and who else?
Just Pritchard and Porzingis.
That was it, huh?
Yep.
Derek didn't speak in the locker room?
No, we'll hear from them tomorrow.
Okay, we'll hear from them tomorrow.
Want to hit on Butler quick?
I do. I was going to wait for the lower third, but we're just going to go to it, and Jackson will toss it up when he's got it. But yeah, let's talk about Butler.
We talked about it a little bit yesterday. I want to hear what you and Sherrod have to say about it because Noah and I talked about it at length. It feels like this is going to happen, right? It feels like this breakup's coming here. I know the agent went crazy on Shams, but I have to think that the Heat are realizing it's time for a mini reset. Maybe overdue, but whether it's overdue or not, I think the time is now. And I don't know how many teams can actually go get him. Obviously, the list is Dallas, Houston, Golden State. So where would you like to see him, Jimmy?
Definitely out west, and you named a bunch of West teams. Now I don't
Get
know.
him out of the conference.
Yeah, I don't know like how the money's gonna. Yeah, don't ask me how it's gonna fit and which teams can afford him. I know that his agent got
So I
pissed.
drew it out. I
Okay.
don't know how it would work for Dallas, but if it's Golden State, I think it will be Wiggins, Kuminga, maybe a couple other contracts and picks. And if it's Houston, I think you can just do Van Fleet for Butler and the picks that they have.
Doesn't
from teams.
Houston just feel like an awesome place for him to go?
Yes, that's my pick. That.
It feels inevitable, Sherrod. And they've been doing this thing, right? Where they're like, oh, we're being patient. We're going to see how this year goes. We want to bring up the young guys. But when that opportunity comes and you could do the trade that easily, how's Ime? You know, Ime wants to speed this thing up a little bit. He's not in this for a rebuild.
Not only that, but doesn't Butler kind of fit Ime's mold? Like, to
absolutely.
Like,
yes.
just hard-nosed player, tough, kind of an asshole, you know, just what the type of guy that Ime like probably wants everybody to be out there in the court.
And they have the assets too.
Right.
Yeah.
They could actually make it happen.
Yeah, they can sweeten the pot as much as they want to with all the different options that they have at their disposal. So that would it almost feels as though that deal would make too much sense. That because it makes so much sense on almost every metric you can think of, Miami will be like, nah, we're not going to do that.
Well, do you want to take back Van Fleet 2 years at $40 million?
No.
Well, what's the point? I mean, yeah, you're getting rid of. Well, you got to get the picks involved and stuff too, right? At this point, like
I don't know that they want to give up Van Fleet either. He's really important to what they're doing over there.
Yeah, and they brought him in to be a culture guy and all that. He hasn't played great there since they signed him, but they did make a move over the summer quietly. Them and the Nets trade a bunch of picks back and forth between each other, so they have all those Kevin Durant Suns picks that the Nets got from Phoenix back then. So I think they could trade 3 of those to Miami, and obviously we'll see what happens with the Suns into the future here. Suns also mentioned here as a possible destination. I don't know how that
kind of got involved.
Yeah,
right? He was like, "What's going on here?" Because
I don't know how that works without trading Beal.
And he has a no trade clause.
Yeah, and he has a no trade clause. Good point.
He's not going to Miami.
Yeah,
you would think he wouldn't unless he's just like, hey, I love Miami. That's the thing though. That's like that's the X factor with Miami is that it's not out of the complete realm of possibility that a player might want to just play there, right?
You got to think about it from Miami's standpoint too here, because they're not going to be going rebuild mode, right? They're still going to have Hero, they're still going to have Bam. It's always a destination, so
you can rebuild.
Would you want to go
faster.
get a Beal?
You can rebuild a lot faster when you're in Miami because you're a destination city.
I mean, if they have
the tax situation works out for players, the weather, the culture, everything is very more appealing to a player than it would if we're talking about Milwaukee or Boston or Oklahoma City or wherever, you know.
And if they have Beal, Hero, and Bam, they could still make the playoffs in the East.
They can make the playoffs, but they can make the playoffs with Jimmy Butler too. Is that what their point? Is that what their goal is? I think that's the whole thing is that like, and we've seen it with Butler in the past, and maybe we didn't think it would happen in Miami, but he's worn out his welcome in other organizations too. And whether it's an attitude thing or whether he's justified in feeling the way he does for whatever reason,
he's a lot.
He is a lot, and so.
You ask yourself now, is he worth it? That's the question now. Is he worth it?
Right. Will Miami Heat fans even know if he's traded?
Don't they have to show up to games? Never mind.
How many games would it take for Heat fans to even realize he's not on the team anymore?
Clip that so somebody else gets the wrath of somebody else's fan base.
Hey, I'll take it. Bring it on.
Did Noah present that question, Jimmy? I think that came from Noah.
I think Noah said that Heat fans don't pay any attention.
Yeah, I think that was Noah that said that.
Last question I'll ask.
That's the real. Yep. What's up?
If the Warriors get him, are you suddenly scared of the Warriors?
Yes. I think I'm already scared of the Warriors, just like PTSD. I'm scared of the Warriors. So you add Jimmy Butler to that mix, a guy that's had a lot of success over the years against you as against the Celtics. You do not want to see the Warriors in the NBA Finals with Jimmy Butler on the team, because that means they've had a lot of success this year and they are clicking on all cylinders. If you're seeing in the NBA Finals, honestly, that'd be an unbelievable NBA Finals. It'd be so entertaining. It'd probably break all the ratings records. But you would not feel as confident. If you're a Celtics fan, you would not feel as confident in that NBA Finals as you would probably against any other team in the NBA if it's against a Jimmy Butler-led Golden State Warriors. So to answer your question, Bobby, yes, I would be very afraid. But I'd still take the Celtics. I don't want everyone to don't clip that and say that I'm picking the Warriors.
Clip it right before that. Yeah, I completely. That's exactly what I was saying to Bobby the other day. Is that just thinking about Jimmy Butler and Steph Curry on the same team in the finals? Like, I don't care about the math. I don't know how it would actually work out as far as the assets they'd have to give up.
You don't care about the math? You just lost a lot of nerd fans. You lost a lot of nerd fans. No, in the NBA, that's bad. There's a lot of them out there now.
Sacrilegious.
Bobby's pissed. Bobby's pissed. What are you looking at, Bobby? You're like researching something over there.
Looking at the chat, just reading it.
I turned it off. It was distracting me too much.
You can't look at this.
I'm researching
that's what
something.
they want. That's what they want. But yeah, I think him going to the Warriors, that would be outrageous.
They never go away.
What's
They
that
just
trade
don't
again?
go
What's
away.
that trade?
Kuminga, Wiggins, picks, some
You
other
don't want
smaller
Kuminga.
contracts.
Kuminga.
Wow.
I like Kuminga more than Noah does.
If you're the Warriors, you kind of do it, right? You take one last hurrah here with Curry.
Yeah.
Well, that would be the step back for the Heat, and then you're taking future Warriors picks back and saying, all right, when this whole Warriors thing's over, we're going to get their picks. I love this for the Heat. I think this is such a great time to get some picks, get some players back that you can rebuild around. You can retool around the Hero Bam thing. Hero's been really good this year. Bam's taking a weird step
Bam
back.
got left for? Yeah, what's the deal with
He just
Bam?
signed a max extension, so he'll be there for a while.
But something's up with him, though.
He just
I don't
hasn't
know.
been efficient this year.
Think it's just the team around him,
Him
more
and Butler
pressure on him.
Aren't
He's never been a great offensive player. Remember those East Finals, Jimmy? Rob was always shutting him down, and he would just never hurt the Celtics all that much offensively.
I actually remember him going off on Rob once specifically.
The bubble year, he killed them.
Okay,
but
that's what it was,
The
the
next
bubble year.
two.
Yeah.
he had
He's
that
still
block on
shooting.
Tatum.
This season, he's shooting 44% from the field. For his career, he's 54. So that's pretty unusual to go down 10 percentage points. A guy like him.
He takes such
he's
tough
having
shots. And the three never came around. You thought it might. He signed through 2028 when he can opt out. So, yeah, he's locked up there for a while.
Real quick, just on the Heat, on the Butler thing. He had a quote, I think it was yesterday. It says, Jimmy Butler is not sweating a recent trade speculation. Quote, it doesn't bother me one bit, and I do appreciate it. I appreciate going out there and hooping, and I appreciate being efficient, being effective, and helping my team win. I don't ever take playing basketball for anybody for granted. It's good to be talked about. I don't think there's such a thing as bad publicity to a point, but if somebody is talking about me getting traded, that's a lot. So kind of a mixed response there. Certainly didn't say anything along the lines of I don't want to be traded or I want to stay in Miami or, anything along those lines at all. Acknowledged that, kind of likes hearing his name being talked about in the news. So yeah, I don't think it'll be the end of the Jimmy Butler news cycle. I think he is going to probably end up going somewhere. We'll find out where that is. But if it's anywhere out west, that just makes an already kind of weak East even weaker. You've really got a couple teams so far as the season's. How many games in are we now? 24?
Yeah. Yep.
So, almost a third of the way into the year here. And is anyone out east? We're gonna wrap it on this question. 24 games roughly in. Coming up on Christmas. This is around the time where you start to see who's real and who's not, I think. Is there anybody in the East that scares you? And then we're gonna go around the horn, then we're gonna call it because this is just one of those games where we can call it at about the hour 20 mark. So Noah, we'll start with you.
I mean, Cleveland's number one. It would be almost like unfair to say anybody else, but Milwaukee's a close second. I think they've just been so much better after that slow start. And
you believe in Milwaukee now?
She doesn't believe in Giannis, though.
I do believe in Giannis.
Got
I don't like No, I don't think
Connor.
that everything has to be like, because I said that Tatum is probably better than Giannis, which was my phrasing. I hate Giannis now. I love Giannis. I think he's a great player. But it's not always so extreme. It's not like, I don't know why it has to be that way.
She hates him.
Because hashtag clicks. Because hashtag
Can't
clicks.
do
Noah,
this.
that's why.
I'm gonna
So-
go Bucks. I'm gonna
Wait,
go
so
Bucks.
so now she's overcompensating and she's saying
I'm
Bucks.
not overcompensating.
I think the Cavs are super enticing. I don't know how they're going to handle the double big thing when playoff time comes around. And obviously the Bucks have to get to the finish line full health. The age thing is such a concern there. But Tatum's, I think, definitively better than Mitchell. And back to our conversation.
Wow.
Yeah, I would lean Giannis, but Giannis Tatum's more of a toss-up. And it's not quite what it used to be where the best player in a series is going to win it. I think it's a lot more about depth now and interchangeability and obviously sustaining an injury if that happens in a series. So I think all those things work in the Celtics' favor, but they've had a tough time in Milwaukee in recent years. They trailed in all 3 games against Milwaukee to start this year. They're not playing them again this year, which is kind of weird and crazy, but they feel like they're inevitably going to meet in the playoffs this time around. I think it'll be a 6-7 game grind. So I'm still sticking with them. I've always liked how they've played against the Celtics since they've gotten lowered. I think they can get the amount of threes up that you need to. Giannis is just so forceful. You still have Horford to contain him to some degree, but I mean, I don't think we've given him enough credit, Sherrod, for how good he's been this year. He's averaging like 34 a game. He's carrying that team that's had guys in and out of the lineup, and they started so bad and they've climbed their way back. So I am going to go Milwaukee.
Yeah, I mean that makes a lot of sense, but none of the teams honestly scare me.
Sherrod's going nobody.
I was honestly going to go there too.
I'm taking the field. No one in the field scares me, and here's why. Cleveland, I think, has certainly enough talent to push the Celtics, but the idea of their double bigs, which they play a lot of, dealing with Porzingis, he's going to be a problem for them. They will be impacted by Porzingis' ability to stretch the floor more than any other top-tier team in the Eastern Conference, and that's something that they really don't have a solution for. So then you look at Milwaukee. They could be a problem because they're part of the been there, done that crew. They know what it's like to defend an NBA championship. They know what it's like to try to just kind of chip away at the front runner. But I don't trust anyone on that team not named Giannis or Dame. And Dame is a problem because he can't defend. Teams exploit the hell out of him because of that. And after those guys, no.
I got Pritchard locking him down if these two teams meet.
I got him and Pritchard picking up double techs.
Yeah, I like that.
They're gonna have at least one game in the best of 7 where they both pick up a tech. Because Pritchard's not going to back down, and Dame Dam's not going to back down from Pitch. So
I'm kind of leaning with Sherrod a little bit. I'm not scared of any team. I do think I'm a little surprised.
You're not going to stand by your Knicks?
I was getting to it. I'm not. I will say this. I'm not as scared of the Knicks. I wasn't really scared of the Knicks, but I did think the Knicks would.
You said they finished in first.
I know. I did think the Knicks would come out of the gates a lot stronger than they did. They kind of stumbled out of the gates. I think they've started to figure it out a little bit more, and I do think they're going to be a tough team, certainly to anybody in the playoffs because they play a physical brand of basketball. What I didn't know about the Knicks, second in the league in field goal percentage, second in the league in field goal percentage, and tied for second in the league in 3-point field goal percentage. Yeah. They just play a slower brand of basketball. So maybe that's something that will change throughout the course of the year. But there's still a lot of things to like about the Knicks. And again, that's a team that had to learn to play with each other, learn how to play with each other again, because they had that big trade that occurred right prior to the start of the season. So not counting the Knicks out yet, but I'm certainly not. I mean, I'm not sweating the Knicks, but I'm certainly not counting them out. And then the Magic. Nobody brought up the Magic. Are they legit, or are we kind of
hard to say with the two guys out?
Right. Yeah, and and Jonathan Isaac, when he's on, he's so damn good.
If he can stay on the court,
if he can stay healthy, right? And the team we haven't said anything about was Atlanta.
Yeah, they're just Atlanta.
I tell you what, Trey Young. This is the best version of Trey Young we've ever seen.
And they beat the Celtics
without
They
him.
did.
Without him. So they don't scare me, but they do make me pause to acknowledge that they're in the building. That they're a decent team.
All their guys are back too.
Yeah, the Johnson kid is really good. Kind of coming into his own. They got some players. Championship caliber, no, but they got some good players though. Definitely.
They got some players. We got some players here. We're gonna sign off. Bobby and Noah are gonna finish up over there at the Garden. Sherrod's gonna get to bed. I'm gonna do the same. Guys, thanks for keeping up with us tonight, staying up late. Happy Friday tomorrow. Everyone listening on the podcast, we got Spotify, we got Apple Podcasts. We have the show. If you're watching, if you tuned in late, catch the show on the CLNS YouTube network or on the Celtics CLNS YouTube network. We got 2 networks going strong. Bobby and Noah, you guys cooking up anything that we should know about?
Yeah, we have a video to come. We just did a podcast the other day that's pretty evergreen, so check that out. And new Pritchard video out about his burst in the stardom. We did a storytelling video the other day over at the studio. So a lot of good stuff up at the channel right now. And obviously we'll be back at practice in the morning, and I am going to shoot down to DC Sunday and catch that game. So yeah, can't resist.
Wow,
one of my favorite cities.
And what I said, basketball junkies, Sherrod. Basketball junkies.
One of my favorite cities too. It bums me out that the team there stinks that bad.
Not me. Someone's got to stink in the NBA. It might as well be. At least they're consistent.
There's winners and there's losers. Not here. We're all winners.
They're a bigger loser than most.
For Noah, Bobby, Sherrod, Jimmy, for John, who's probably in the 4th stage of REM sleep by now, we're gonna say peace out. I think this is the outro, unless Jackson hit me with the outro.
No one's sneaking a vegan brownie by me, I'll tell you that.
Okay, you know what, John? We're going to do it.
You have to feel that way too, Bobby.
I have to feel that way? Let's fly out over and make Luke your first center.
Bobby, we gave you Luke an hour early. We're not going to end this on a damn conversation about Luke